Oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know what really pisses me the fuck off? See? I have to do this. And not only that, I also have to actually unintentionally, without my consent, have to do this face reveal, okay? Because, you wanna know why? Because ShareFactory fucking hates me. This is probably the most angriest face reveal video you'll ever see, but now we're just gonna go back to the actual video where I'm gonna change my clothes because I recorded this like 2 days earlier. Okay? Bye. I guess we're now gonna be talking about what's in the title of the video, just coming out of the closet, because this is actually conveniently in the closet. But let's continue. So this happened like a very long time ago, where one of my nephews, by the way, one of my nephews is actually like older than me. Actually, two of them are, but in this story, one of them is. So let's continue on with the story. So then, like, the nephew proceeded to like ask me this question, where it's like, have you ever heard of the gay guy? Wait, no. Have you ever heard of the movie where the gay guy says no? And obviously, since I never even know anything that he's talking about, I just immediately, my default answer is no. And then he's just like, haha, you fell for it. This is a movie or something like that. Actually, he didn't say this is a movie, but, you know, like the running thing of like, you know, the title of the movie. And then I said the title basically. So therefore, I'm the gay guy. But like, I never knew what that meant. So, and immediately after that, I kind of just have like this weird connotation where being gay is just wrong, just because I was laughed at for it.
Well, I don't know what the heck gay means, but apparently it means people kick you on the floor, so that ain't good.
This happened a few more times, and in fact, actually, I vividly remember like one time where it's like he asked that exact same question, because remember, this is when we were kids, okay? We all thought the same joke was funny. And when he said that question, I immediately said, yes, I did see that. I am not the gay. And he still kind of like laughed at me, just because it's like, oh yes, you're the gay guy now because you're watching your own movie or something. I don't know. So I guess watching a movie where the gay guy says no and you agreed to watch that movie, it still makes you gay. Yeah, me neither. Child humor, I swear. And not too long after that, he also like mentioned like a brand of clothing that word was, which was Gap, aka like, you know, the Gap clothings you see. Like, maybe I could like bring up some examples, but I remember wearing a Gap jacket that was like all black and then white letters saying the word Gap. And he said that like, hey, you know what Gap stands for? It means gay ass person. Again, what's up with just being gay and it just being wrong? Like, I still don't know. At the time, I still didn't know. So I just kept like, so this idea of like being gay is being bad is just being reinforced by jokes. Like, I generally don't even think I remember wearing Gap clothes after that moment. So with more experiences in my childhood, I actually technically, okay, like very big air quotes, I technically had 2 girlfriends. It's kind of weird saying that, but like, it's kind of true if you really think about it. I mean, I don't know, we were kids, like it doesn't really matter. I never loved them after puberty. It even got to like the point where it's like, it was almost like drama at school, like during my elementary school, because it was like because one of the girls was just like, you either pick me or you pick her, and I guess in the end I technically didn't want either of you. Like, see, this really does like impact you in a way, but I feel like my impact is kind of like small compared to like someone who's just like born like, you know, during the AIDS crisis. So I kind of like mentioned like the entire like the 80s, you know, AIDS crisis, where it's just like, okay, then a bunch of like bad stuff happening, and a bunch of like the entire like queer community just kind of like, we lost a generation of the queer community, and that's bad. And I'm not really knowledgeable on that, because like school did at least like somewhat like at least knew that it happened, because like I feel like anything that happened like after 1970s, like when schools were just like, yep, we're not going to be talking about like recent history, or at least if we do, it's going to be like very late, and it's like the teacher, it's like the day before finals, and that's when the teacher like kind of like, oh, here's what happened like within the past 50 years all in one day. So no, I wasn't really knowledgeable, and I even like contacted one person to see if I could like make them like, you know, like share their experiences, but then they also like immediately told me that like it didn't affect me because I wasn't born. like yeah, sure, I was born before it happened, but you know, I wasn't the generation that took it. He was like 10 or 5 when it was happening. So that was very stupid in my part, but continuing on with the video now. Basically baby boomers, and mostly Gen X, because like baby boomers are busy, I don't know, getting rich off of exploiting slave labor. They were busy like just being rich to even care. But Gen Xers are actually like the ones being affected by like the AIDS crisis. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm gonna like include that entire rant, but if I do, include this one too, okay? Editing me. Ooh, this is going down like a nostalgia trip. So like when I was playing Saints Row 3, which is like a very old game, I don't know how, but like it was just a very like adult theme kind of game, where it's like I don't know, like there was even like a weapon where it's just like it was literally a dildo, like that was the weapon. Well, a dildo with a baseball bat, but still a literal dildo that I just remember playing when I was like 11 and 12. So it was kind of weird. I didn't know it was a dildo at the time. Okay, it wasn't. Don't worry, I wasn't like traumatized by it. Okay, and overall, I would say Saints Row 3 is basically an adult's wet dream of a sandbox game. Of an open world sandbox game, kind of like GTA 5, but basically on crack. I think I remember like someone saying that. And yeah, that was a perfectly accurate description.
However, the third game was when Volition decided to tell realism to jump out the window and cracked open the crystal meth.
Cocaina! No. Flour.
But the reason why I even mention Saints Row 3 is because like again, like with all the adult theme shit, just for some reason not even like entering my mind at the time. I didn't even know like what cuss words were until like I was like 12, and even then that was just like, it was not even because of video games, it was just because of like being outside in reality. But the reason why I bring it up is because like I always like kind of like remember like always playing the male boss, which is weird because like almost every single one of my brothers and stuff always kind of like played like the female boss. And I always thought that was kind of weird, and I just always like played the male boss, and specifically the male boss always, and I swear to God, always was muscular at the time. I don't know why. Maybe it was just like my my just feelings just being expressed at the time, but it was just so weird just thinking that like, hey, I just made this guy extremely muscular. I know it's kind of weird because like everyone else just kind of like played in the game normally, but I always just like made the guy muscular. I always changed him for some reason. I always made him a beard. I always just basically, I always kind of like made him a dad. A very good, strong daddy. Okay, that's what I did to the male bosses at that game. It's kind of weird expressing that now because I was like 11 and 12 back then, but I did the same thing too when it was re-released on the PS4. I did the exact same thing. I don't know, is there more things I like should mention in Saints Row 3? I feel like normal gameplay, like nothing new happened in terms of like sexuality for me at least. Maybe there's like some gay guys that are just like, yeah, I kind of discovered my sexuality because of this game, because of like the almost unlimited possibilities. Maybe fast forward, or I guess not really fast forward because it kind of like happened like very closely related when I was 12, and that was when I entered middle school. Yay! And basically immediately in the first day of school, like not even like I don't know, like a couple days afterwards, it was literally the first day of school where I specifically remember that there was like this like kind of like pride thing. Oh yeah, it says something that, like, no matter if you're lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, this is an accepting classroom. It basically said something like that. And I even specifically remember where one of my classmates was just like, transgender, that's gross. Please don't cancel her, okay? And then someone else was just like, no, that's okay. And then I don't know, I blanked out after that. That's the last thing I remembered. But yeah, that also like concludes that like that was the first time I actually ever heard of the word transgender. Also, maybe it said transsexual. But no, I think it said transgender, yeah. I had very transphobic views at that time. Oh my god. And nothing new happened until like my next year, so basically 8th grade, where I had like a new classroom because of like winter break. So it was like at the very start of 2016, where like basically like my politics kind of like had to like almost inevitably started at that time because of like a bunch of everything. So in this classroom, there was this guy where he basically gave me a compliment. I forgot exactly what was the compliment, but I think it had to do like something with like knitting or like sign language, because that was the classroom. It was like elective. It was elective classroom, so basically we just learned a bunch of things within like a couple of weeks. So he immediately like gave me a compliment, but then like almost immediately afterwards he basically said like, but not in a gay way, which now that I think about it is kind of weird, because it's like, why would giving someone a compliment just be seen as gay? And because of that, that's when I immediately knew what being gay was. So at least thank you, classmate. Actually, I remember it was not just a compliment. I think he said like, oh, I love you. But he did like say like, oh, I love you, after like I showed him like something within like knitting, or the, you know what else I said, knitting or sign language, and then like I received a compliment, and then he proceeded to say that, to say I love you, and then after that is when he said, but not in the gay way. That's what happened. When high school came around, I still didn't knew exactly who I liked, so I just kind of like immediately defaulted to straight, because hey, that's what everyone is. So why should I be something else? So yeah, I basically just saw myself as straight, even though I never liked anyone. I never really liked anyone more than just like maybe even friends, if at all. Around October, and this is where like things just kind of get like really coincidental really fast, because around October, one of my third grade teacher actually like kind of like talked about like certain things within the classroom, where it's like LGBT stuff. Like she genuinely like kind of just like talked about this. So yeah, she basically just talked about like LGBT stuff, LGBTQ plus stuff, because that's when I actually first heard of the acronym LGBTQ, specifically the Q and then the plus, and then just a bunch of letters as well. But in general, I just like kind of classified the entire like community as LGBTQ plus. That's the acronym that I just like kind of like encapsulate if I want to include like basically everyone. At first it was like stuff that I kind of like was familiar with, you know, like being gay, being lesbian, being bisexual, being trans, although like still being trans was just kind of weird at the time, but still I was kind of at least knew what they were talking about. And then like she bring up like kind of like newer sexualities like pansexuality and asexuality, and I just at the time I was just like, what the fuck? Like that was me at the time. Like now it's like, okay, then that's just like a normal part of life. If you're asexual, then I see you as valid. If you're pansexual, I also see you as valid. Okay, if you're gay to the sequel, aka pansexual, I also see you as valid. Oh god, that joke. Learned it from Shoe on Head. Okay,
we got bye to the sequel, Oreo.
And there was like this one quote where she said, where it's like, I still remember to this day, where it went along the lines of, I love my husband because of his personality, but would I still love him if he was a her? Like that, and that was just when my mind kind of just like opened up. I was like, that's right. That's right. Who should even be homophobic at this point? That's right. That's right, like it's the most basic teacher ever. And that question actually got me thinking more about myself than any other question at the time, because it really hit me like hard. It really did. Like I generally thought that I was actually pansexual, because I was like, okay, then I kind of like people just because, like no matter what. But then I kind of like realized that like, okay, maybe that doesn't really apply, because I was kind of like not very much into like non-binary. I never even knew what non-binary was. I don't think she ever even like taught that. But even if she did, I don't think I would really like accept that, just because it's like, ooh, a third gender. What are you? Like some form of like what are you? A postmodern neo-Marxist or something? Actually, no, I didn't even know about that at the time as well. So yeah. Next, I actually really wanted to say that I was bi, because I was like, okay, like being bi is still kind of seen as normal, right? So maybe I should go. So maybe I should go to like the more normal one, I guess. Remember, being whatever sexuality is completely valid, okay? Unless you're a map, in which case you could just fuck off. Even though being a map is not a sexuality, but they really want it to be a sexuality. So remember, if a map says that they are part of the LGBT community, you can just flip them the bird and just say fuck off. Fuck off, because we don't want you here. You can't sit with us. And this is where things get a really dark turn. I think I even said that before, but this is actually when things got dark, because not even like the same month, but literally the same week, when I went to church. Oh god, how do I say this without sounding like I'm such a Satanist? So church decided to do the entire like, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve talk. And all I have to say is that it didn't say Adam or Eve. Like, okay, then if God just wants me to just not be gay, then I should not be gay, even though I literally masturbated to like a bunch of guys like a couple of times before church even started, actually. So yeah. And the following year was probably like the most depressing year, because it's just like just almost everything I felt just I actually generally don't even know how to like even say this while sounding funny, sounding entertaining, while sounding like this should actually be worth putting into the video.
But I saw no end, no escape, no way to change the world or who I was, so one evening I thought, fuck it, and I attempted suicide. I say attempted because just before it was too late, I thought...
Like, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see a mental breakdown live on camera. Like, no one wants to see that. And so I'll just skip forward to like possibly at the end of 2017, although like maybe I should argue it should also like be fast forward to like now, because like around at the end of 2017 and 2018, that's when I technically accepted myself. But even then, I don't even like see that, because it's like I was still kind of like somewhat homophobic because of like something like toxic masculinity, like the alpha kind of like concept, and just like being basically like kind of like not treating the feminine man as the same as like any other man. And I just don't even think that like 2017 was when I even like accepted myself, but rather like maybe like 2020 even. Like that was probably like the latest really that I kind of accepted myself. Yeah, I specifically like mentioned that like church was kind of the reason why I felt like more depressed in some ways, but I feel like that should like belong into like its own video, because it was more so like me, because like almost after like 2017 and when I accepted myself, I kind of like put my entire like thoughts on pause and focus more on like religion. That's what I did all the way until like 2019, which is where like I also said it in the video, where I also said it in like the recording, where like, oh yeah, that's when I stopped going and I immediately stopped caring after that. And yeah, I think that's like when I kind of like resumed my more questioning phase, because like yeah, like the entire like me being like the edgelord atheist, that phase just like kept going until like pretty much as soon as I stopped attending. To this day, I kind of still never technically came out to any one of my family members, at least. Like to my friends, they kind of indirectly know. And that was like in the middle of like us playing Minecraft, I think. Actually no, like not even 2019, it was 2020, because I remember it was after like a certain update. And I honestly have no idea if he even told anyone else. Maybe I know he told his friend, I know that. But I don't know if he told anyone else in the family. But considering that no one has treated me differently, I'm going to assume that maybe he did, or maybe he didn't. One of my sisters actually started like kind of like interrogating me because of like my thing of the church, because yeah, like following after, I think I should actually include this in like a future video, because I was like kind of like fading within the church and actually never even attended since 2019. Like she kind of like asked if I was gay, because that was the reason what I told my parents, and they kind of like gossiped about me about that. And she's been questioning me, and the last thing she said to me was just like, if you're ready, you could come to me. And yeah, that was pretty charming for her to say that. Go on, sister. But who knows, maybe with time, maybe they would talk about it, maybe they would actually ask me, because I don't think I would actually ever ask like them just being like, hey, I want to talk, because I want like my sexuality to just be like something that's like, it's not important for them to just like basically just like start an entire conversation on, because like, but also like I don't know if that's actually even, I don't know if that's worse actually, because I don't know if like if it's worse to like make it a big deal and be like, hey, I'm gay, do you accept me, or just be like, hey, I'm basically marrying this person. Like, I don't know what's the best path for me to like go on with this, but who knows, only time will tell. Oh yeah, there is one other thing that I could probably like integrate into this video, and that is like kinks, but I feel like that, but yeah, like kinks in general is just kind of like hard to like understand. And if anyone sticks around in the end, I just, especially if one of you is my family members, I'm officially saying this after this video goes out. If you ever ask me the same question, I would definitely say the right answer. answer. I wouldn't say what my sister did and just basically kind of just basically gave her the silent treatment. But if you don't want to, then you can just watch the end of this video because I'm going to say it right now. I, Miguel, or Anthony, actually to my parents, am gay. Now back to kind of regularly scheduled videos, aka Neko Jishi, until I finish the game. And then after that, something, I don't know, probably politics. I've said that before. Though I'm not like any other of these furries that did politics. I'm actually the good one. I'm not like other girls. I am based. When you I just, because I'm blanking right now. I'm blanking right now. Shooting blanks. LimeWire, aka the thing that was before my time. I mean, there was also like other instances, but I feel like that. Yeah.